And we've an election special now on BBC Two, in which Angus Deaton maintains a bias-free zone. Have I got news for you?
Good evening and welcome at the start of 12 hours of unbridled delight. I refer not to the programme, but the period of time during which we have no government. In the election run-up, reports that this is the dirtiest campaign so far are confirmed when the Labour leader is spotted trying to strangle Sir Geoffrey Howe. In Rochdale, Cyril Smith's lapel badge is delivered ready for the count. And finally, Kurdish leaders react to the news that now the election's over, Jeffrey Archer plans to visit them again. On Ian Hislop's team tonight, a talented comedian, a witty raconteur, a charismatic performer, there's no one he can't impersonate. A star of the Rory Bremner show, will you welcome the Rory Bremner? And on Paul Merton's team, someone who, when it comes to news quizzes, is no stranger than he was when he last appeared on this programme. Formerly editor of Punch, formerly a magazine, Alan Coren. Well, as you may have noticed, in an unconvincing attempt to distinguish this special election special from our normal run-of-the-mill shows, we've divided the studio into a blue corner and a red corner. Ian and Rory have the dubious privilege of sitting amongst the true blues, while Paul and Alan stand proud of the Labour lovelies, and I find myself framed by the leading lights of the Liberal Democrats. So let's pussyfoot gingerly into round one, in which we relive the raw joy of watching party political broadcasts. Two each to fondly recollect and identify. Ian and Rory, you're first.
We used to come in and buy kippers.
Well, we still sell the kippers.
I'll have some kippers.
Yeah.
I'll have some kippers. Immediately opposite there. That is where we lived. It is. It's still there. Yeah.
That was a party political broadcast for the Labour Party. Terrifically effective. They went ahead 9 points straight away.
It sort of did sound like the beginning of a music hall act, didn't it? You know, do you still serve kippers? Well, I'm serving you, ain't I?
I'm surprised to find Brixton's still there. It wasn't that. Good God, Brixton's still there. I thought they destroyed that in 85.
Yes, Major was visibly surprised to see his old house still standing. Odd, considering it was perfectly intact the previous Wednesday when they did the rehearsal. Seen there in Brixton Market just before making his first soapbox speech, Major was buying kippers for his breakfast as they curiously run out of eggs. Apparently the idea behind purchasing the kipper was to show he was an ordinary, everyday resident of Brixton. Presumably he was going to douse it in petrol and hurl it at the police.
This soapbox that he's got is a wonderful idea, isn't it? You can see them sort of saying, how can we make him look charismatic? Let's stand him next to a wooden box. Or the message is, vote for this man, he's got a wooden box.
No, vote for this box. He's got a wooden man.
Paul and Alan, an equally implausible broadcast for you.
This is the girl with the Joe Cocker record stuck in her head. Turn it off, I can't stand anymore.
Listening to Kinnock, look. This is a child with a grommet. No one in their right minds goes into a party political broadcast with a word like grommet, but anyway, this child been waiting 9 months for a grommet to put in her ear so she'd hear better, but in fact this turned out to be untrue, and the Tories were gleeful that it was because she was on the wrong list. This is a wonderful defence of National Health Service. It means if she'd actually had her operation, she probably would have had her left leg taken off. But anyway, She was called Jennifer.
Yes.
She came from a wonderful family where the father had given this information to the Labour Party, the mother was a Tory voter, and Grandad had faxed Tory Central Office with the details.
It's little Jennifer Bennett in hospital for the insertion of a grommet, absolutely right. Labour Press Secretary Julie Hall was forced to confess that she'd revealed the Christian name, but the big question was which of the three main parties had leaked the surname to their friends at the Daily Express. Bit of a riddle, that one, isn't it? Ian and Rory, who are these lovable eccentrics.
I believe that most people in this country are social democratic by nature. They've been forced into political pigeonholes in which they sit rather uncomfortably.
Uncomfortably? That's the pronunciation party.
I think that's Claire Rayner talking about these uncomfortable things she's been selling on the television. There's a home video on behalf of the last three tragic members of the SDP, whose leader has just said, vote Tory, which must have pleased them.
Dr. O's now had more parties than Paddy Ashdown's had secretaries.
Satire. Who said satire?
That's rather uncalled for.
Although true.
No wonder his eyes are practically shut.
It was... It was before we go any further down that line. Paul and Alan, a rather more credible outfit for you.
Hello, everyone. I'm an expert in making things disappear.
Natural law party, isn't it?
I thought it was another Labour Party one about people waiting for an operation on their... But I think they're right.
Jennifer's Piles or something like that.
It looks as if they were having a grommet forcibly inserted at the time. It's the Natural Law Party, whose position on the NHS, electoral reform, education policy in Europe is still unclear, but what's certain is that they're fully behind jumping up and down cross-legged on a mattress, an issue which other parties seem curiously reluctant to tackle. They promise to stop all crime, end all wars, and cure all known diseases, which is very kind of them, which brings us stumbling to the end of round one, at which point the magnificent totals are as follows. Well, Paul and Alan have a maximum 4, and Ian and Rory have an equally replete 4. Well, this is the part of the show where we ask you to hold everything as our intrepid guests gird their loins for our once popular caption competition. Each team is confronted with a captionless photograph. Paul and Alan, this is yours. Ian and Rory, yours is this. And between now and past, it's your joint responsibility to put words into whosever mouths you deem appropriate. And while you're letting your creative juices run riot, we'll trundle into round 2, our candidates round. One eminent electoral personage each for you to identify. Paul, recognise the chap on the left.
Well, obviously.
Surely it's one of the cabinet ministers they think aren't telegenic.
It's not
David Mellor, isn't it?
It's not the girl...
There's so many to choose from.
It's
John
not the girl
Dummer.
It's not the girl in the Clearasil advert, is it? The one...
The before and after.
Yeah.
No, I'm happy to say no, it's not. It's actually a gentleman called Lord Buckethead.
The clue was there, wasn't it? The clue was there.
Could have had a guess, really, couldn't he?
I'm a fool to myself.
He's standing against John Major on the policy that everyone should wear a bucket on their head. Major, of course, as we know, favours wearing a large owl. Lord Owlhead. Alan, who's this woman?
Oh, well, I'm not entirely certain that is a woman. It's a transsexual party.
April Ashley.
No, you're
No,
I'll give you
September, Ashley, I would think. It's going to be a bit weathered around the upper lip.
Yes.
It is a woman, is it?
It is a woman.
It's not Mrs.
Just.
Buckethead, is it?
It's someone called Sandra McRae, formerly Stephen Ray, a man who in 1977 asked to be changed into a woman. Unfortunately, he didn't say which woman, and he looked like he got Glenda Jackson. Probably one of the few politicians who would benefit from a bucket over his head. Currently standing for the SNP, in fact, in Glasgow's roughest constituency, Sandra was once a prop forward for Stornoway Rugby Club. I suppose it gives the flanker something to hang on to in the scrum, and suspenders. Rory, a slightly more conventional figure for you.
I think it's Dave Nellist.
Very good indeed, yes.
Oh, yeah. Dave
The
Nellis,
unmistakable figure of...
It does help when you actually get to see their face, doesn't it?
It does.
I'm only used to seeing them from the unusual angle.
Yes.
This is Dave Nellis, who's nearly as bearded as Robin Cook, but not quite. And on those grounds, I think he was thrown out of the Labour Party. No, he was chucked out because he's a socialist, and they don't have those anymore.
Yes.
Got a lot of socialites.
Hoping to benefit from the Labour split is the Tory candidate Martine Hyams. She's a former dancer with the Johnny Wilson Rock and Roll Sinners, whose career peaked, we're told, in the 50s with an appearance at London's Café de Paris. Difficult to imagine where it troughed. And finally in this round, Ian, who's this on his way out?
This is Alan Amos.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
The MP who was caught on Hampstead Heath.
I thought it was Edward Heath, wasn't it? Wrong sailor, sorry.
He was arrested in an area known as Gobbler's Gulch. Which I believe is a reference to the bar snacks they serve at the neighbouring pub. Anyway, he obviously wasn't doing anything at all, as he said, so he's resigned.
Police source, I have to tell you, said that these men were not in fact having full gay sex. Colleagues described the incident as a tremendous blow for him. At the end of all that, it's painfully clear that Paul and Alan have, well, they're dragging their heels with 5, and Ian and Rory are forging ahead with 8. And so we enter the pandemonium that is round 3, our connections round, in which each team is force-fed a hastily slung together compilation of disparate film clips that together refer to a major news story from the election. Ian and Rory, an unsavoury bunch, but what's the connection?
That's an unsavoury.
That's Jeff. That's someone even worse, Branson. Or is that Branson?
No.
Both of them.
Both of them. Michael Winner and...
Jenny Seagrove.
Valerie Singleton. And some watercress. Oh
my God. Wow, that's Roy Hattersley.
They're all Conservatives. They're all the Conservative list.
No, this is all people who were on the list.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. And a number of them aren't anymore.
Yes, it was nailed together by Geoffrey Archer, so there was an element of truth in it. I took 2,000 quid off him under a clock at Victoria Station to appear on that list.
So it was you?
Is that anywhere near Gobbler's Gulch?
It's alone.
It's the story about Geoffrey Archer, saviour of the Kurds, who's now turned his organisational abilities to compiling a list of celebrity Tory supporters, but many of them say they never gave permission for their names to be used. Richard Branson didn't want to talk about his personal views in public. Makes a nice change. And Jenny Seagrove didn't want to admit to being a Tory, although she's prepared to admit to being Michael Winner's girlfriend, which is far more humiliating. Ian Botham issued a writ, and Archer's pièce de résistance was Peter Duncan, ex-Blue Peter presenter, who is an active Labour Party campaigner. Still, 0 out of 4 is not bad, I suppose. Some celebrities were happy to remain on the list, such as Bill Wyman, who was included to appeal to the young people. The problem is, the sort of young people that appeal to him are actually too young to vote. Alan, do you know why you were on the list?
Yeah, he rang me up. They all rang me up. I was on the Labour list, and I was on the Liberal list as well. I thought there was a chance of a hot dinner here and a chat, and mixing with knobs like prunella scales. The Plaid Cymru was the really good one. They rang me. I couldn't understand a word they said, but I know that.
Paul and Alan, a similar gallery of rogues for you of a slightly different persuasion. What links them?
Gerald Kaufman, isn't it?
Yes. Oh dear, that's Hampstead Heath, I believe.
Yeah.
Something vanishing up a hole.
That's Alan Coren.
That's Paul Brown.
That was John Smith.
What is that coming out of? A pile of something. Oh yes, Prescott.
Prescott.
These are things that disappear into holes, are they not?
I think so,
Politicians,
yeah.
scorpions, and other rubbish. The first sight of anything frightening, they're up it like, well, Amos up a drain pipe. is going to emerge from this campaign, you know, as the most famous politician in England.
Isn't this sort of politicians or members of the Labour Party who've been sort of advised not to appear on television and sort of just go into hiding a little bit during the...
The party image consultants have described them as a bigger turn-off than the test card and marginally less effective as politicians. John Prescott, for example, is a rabble-rouser and not cut out for the 20-second soundbite, unlike Neil Kinnock, who's cut out for the 20-minute sound banquet. Gerald Kaufman has similarly disappeared completely from public view and is nowhere to be seen, so maybe we've inadvertently stumbled upon the identity of Lord Buckethead. All of which pointless speculation lands us squarely at the foot of round 4, which I'm sure I need tell you is our archive round. Both bits of footage are taken from the SDP archive, one of the smaller rooms in the BBC. Ian and Rory, what happened next for you?
Right, where's this school that you all come from? This one. They're all said. This is Spalding Grammar School.
Yes.
Roy Jenkins scored.
Roy Jenkins talked to the schoolboy for about 5 minutes, and the schoolboy persuaded him to just pack it in.
Not far off. Let's see if you're right.
Right, where's this school that you all come from? This one. They're all said. This is Spalding Grammar School.
Yes. Yes, same here.
How are you?
Do you, Jenkins, do you truly believe the only way out of the present economic recession is by watered-down Tory economic and financial policies?
Yes, it was Roy Jenkins rendered speechless for once at Spalding Grammar School, where he was advocating the return to the traditional values of reading, writing and arithmetic, or the 3 W's as he called them. Paul and Alan, not so much what happened next for you as what's going on here.
Healthcare should be provided on the basis of need, not on a capacity to pay.
It's a child from the Roy Jenkins clip. Hasn't entirely grown up.
Auditioning for Max Headroom or something? Or?
Max Big Headroom.
Incredibly, given the Aaron jumper, this is all in a vain attempt to attract young people. You have more chance with Bill Wyman, really. Dr. Owen has announced that he'll be retiring from politics after this election in order to spend more time with his ego. So, at the end of that round, the upshot of it all is that... well, I can tell you that Paul and Alan have a frankly poor 8, and Ian and Rory have a thoroughly excellent 12. And so we bid a warm welcome to round 5, our special election odd one out round, 4 apparently unconnected souls, 3 of which have a common link, one being the social outcast. What's the connection and who is the Fergie? Paul, you're first. Andrew Lloyd Webber, Vince Hill, Rock Dinosaurs, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or ELP if you're sad, and Rolf Harris.
I'll try and do it through deduction. Now, Andrew Lloyd Webber's written a fanfare, hasn't he, for John Major. Emerson, Lake and Palmer had a record called Fanfare for the Common Man. Vince Hill... Rolf Harris has advertised Kentucky Fried Chicken. And Vince Hill...
doesn't have many fans anymore.
No.
Is the odd one out because he's never written a fanfare or advertised Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Yes, Vince Hill.
It's an interesting deduction and completely wrong. Ian, any idea?
Rolf Harris has written a party political tune as well, hasn't he?
You're on the right lines.
The lines in 87, wasn't it?
Two little boys.
I'll give you a point each. The answer is Rolf Harris, as all the others have been responsible for party election music.
What was Vince Hill?
Vince Hill caused the Tories to storm to victory in '79 by singing Hello Maggie to the tune of Hello Dolly. Inspired lyrics. And Andrew Lloyd Webber arranged Purcell's Abdelaza for the Tories this year, as you mentioned. Perhaps Memories might have been a more appropriate one this year. Still, a cut above the Liberal Democrats, they had Paddy's theme performed by the keyboards player of Bucks Fizz. Rolf Harris, to his credit, never recorded any election music, but he was there in spirit.
2 brothers fighting on opposite sides, and one sees the other.
I hadn't heard that.
Did you think I'd leave you dying when there's room on my horse for 2?
Dear, oh dear.
Yep.
Maggie would have shot the wounded one in the head.
Alan, which is the odd one out here? Ken Dodd, Ken Barlow, Ken Livingston, and Steve Davis. Tricky one, this.
Well then, 3 of them are called Ken, 3 of them play snooker, 3 of them are immensely boring, and 3 of them interfere with newts, so they're all in their particular ways. I would go... These are political affiliations, are they?
Ken Dodd, Ken Barlow, whatever his name, and Steve Davis are all Tories, aren't they?
Yes.
So in that sense, Ken
as dull
Livingston
as
could be
that,
the odd
you
one. I don't know.
Yes, it's well done.
Wonderful meeting.
Well deduced. Good, yes.
Did you see it on the telly? Ken Barlow meets John Major.
Well,
what a boring man. Not Barlow, obviously. the other one.
Only Ken Livingston, interestingly, doesn't support the Tory party, although they do share a common enemy. Rory. 4 famous faces for you. Sir Robin Day, Jeffrey Archer again, Ted Dexter, and Jimmy Edwards.
Are they all Sir Jimmy Edwards? Was he Sir Jimmy? No.
Well,
no, we're
true.
hungry
Paul,
over here.
Yes,
Do
I
it,
can
Paul.
tell there's an answer coming.
Jimmy Edwards once stood for the Conservatives in Paddington in about 1961. Jeffrey Archer stood for Conservatives, Ted Dexter has, and Robin Day once stood for the Liberal Party.
Archer's the only one who got in.
Yes, extremely good.
Well,
2 points. They're all...
for anybody else.
Jeffrey Archer was actually walking round Battersea the other day, which is where I live, and some old bloke that was coming along, and he said, "Can I just ask you a question, Mr. Archer?" And he says, "Yes, fire away." He said, "Why don't you sod off?"
He wasn't a slightly balding Welsh person.
Outside Marks and Spencer's, it was.
Well. Finally, in this round, Ian, 4 cherubic faces for you. Claire Rayner.
Oh, yeah.
John Mortimer. Robbie Coltrane. and Gandhi.
They've all presented grandstand.
I think this must be a Labour Party question.
Gandhi didn't have anything to do with sanitary mechanism. Wore that dubious sheet for much of his life. Who's the bloke working Gandhi?
It's nothing to do with Richard Attenborough, is it?
I think we're getting further away from the answer. I guess the odd one out is Mahatma Gandhi. The other 3 were among the hefty celebrities attending Labour's notorious fundraising dinner at the Park Lane Hotel. Mahatma Gandhi was not present at the dinner as he was unavoidably deceased. And at the end of all that, I can tell you that, well, who would have thought it? Paul and Alan have a virtually irretrievable 13, and Ian and Rory have an almost unstoppable 15. Well, we come now rather gratefully to our final missing words round. Each team is given a set of headlines with 1 or 2 words blanked out. All they have to do is guess the missing words or think of something better. We like to pick on the team in last place and hold them up to the glare of public humiliation by inviting them to go first. So, Paul and Alan, I'm afraid that means you. So away we go. Most what?
Corpses?
Would vote for Tories?
Is it women?
Conservatives.
Sticking your neck out a bit there. Cats? Almost. The other ones. Dogs, very good, well done.
That's a really desperate headline. Is that the Daily Mail?
Real leg
Can't
lifter.
see from here. Next, Lib Dems reap reward for clean what?
Campaign.
Underpants.
Campaign is right, yes, very good. Underpants is not right. Next, Kinnock lures floaters with what?
PR, I think.
It's actually poll reform, but I'll give you PR.
We'll take it.
Plumbing reform.
We'll take it.
Next, politicians show signs of what?
Honesty?
Fatigue, is it?
Intelligence.
Fatigue is the right answer, very good.
That wouldn't be news.
And finally, Thatcher still a factor as Heath goes what?
Hawaiian?
It's a lovely image, but not right.
Walkabout.
Goes on and on, isn't it? He's
On and
standing
on,
for
very
another,
good, yes.
another
Goes
couple
on
of
and on.
terms.
Excellent. Right, Ian and Rory, here are your headlines. Arcilla sends Major to his date with who?
Jason Donovan.
Allegedly.
Voters is the right answer. Hard luck. Next, I made what, says Kinnock.
Kaufman disappear.
What?
Glenda Jackson.
Allegedly, no.
I made, constructed, fabricated, built, created, designed, whatever it was.
Is it two mistakes?
Two mistakes?
Something about
I'll
mistake.
give you a
few
point
errors.
for mistake. Errors on key issues is actually the rather dull answer. Next, Tories see Hurd's what as big plus for voters?
Retirement.
Dalek impersonation.
Authority is the
Authority,
answer.
even more silly.
Slightly duller. Next, Paddy waves what?
Paddy waves it about.
Allegedly.
Tax axe is the answer. And
doing very well
lastly,
here, are we?
Heseltine fails to find the what in his knapsack.
Grecian 2000.
It's Marshall's baton, isn't it?
I'm afraid it would, but
Dibber.
Alan just leapt in before you, so I'm afraid Alan gets the point. Even though it wasn't his question, that's not very fair, is it? And after that flawless display of groping in the dark, the final verdict is that tonight, enjoying a small majority, are Paul and Alan with 22, and losing their deposits are Ian and Rory with 20. So for winning, Paul and Alan get a delightful Je t'aime JM t-shirt here. There you are. And for losing, Ian and Rory get 2.
Collector's item, isn't it?
It's got on the back, I love Gobbler's Gulch. I'd like to opt out of that, please.
All right. No, I'm afraid you can't. Continuity reasons. But all is not entirely lost for our defeated captain. Not only is there the chance of a rematch in our next series, which starts in 2 weeks' time, but he has the opportunity to redeem himself now with our caption competition. Paul and Alan, what have you come up with for this?
I can't think of anything you can use on British television for that one. Daddy.
Very good. Ian and Rory, what about yours?
So you're the one who edits Private Eye.
I thought it was something like, you're bald, you dribble, and you got a mental age of 1. I'm not voting for you.
On which contentious note, we say thank you to our guests, Ian Hislop and Rory Bremner, Paul Merton and Alan Coren. And I leave you with news that Labour and the Conservatives may be close to reaching an electoral pact after Norman Tebbit is seen emerging from lunch with Roy Hattersley. Plans to clean up Paddy Ashdown's image suffer another setback. Meanwhile, the search continues for Gerald Kaufman. And finally, the Liberal Democrat leader spots the very sign that gives his party hope for a landslide victory: a pig. Good night.